guys, welcome back to Cast and Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host, Teasdale, and this is my co-host, Reese.
Oh.
No fancy intro today because, as you all may have noticed, we have, well, if you are on YouTube, that is, we are having a bonus episode. You may notice because this week's episode is already out. And we are joined today by the legendary Alexandre Weber, the Brazilian representative of the PFP.
Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for the invitation.
We ultimately decided Weber was kind enough to join us for this week's episode, and we decided that the normal show just didn't do this man some justice. So it was probably best to just give a nice conversation with Weber here. And this gentleman, he does amazing YouTube content, regularly top 32s in all sorts of challenges with some wild and wacky decks, which is amazing to see. And of course, he is a member of the PFP, which is great. So, Weber, let's start by introducing yourself, explaining yourself. How did you get into Magic, and ultimately, what made Pauper your main focus?
All right. So, first of all, thanks for the invitation and hello everyone. And I started playing Magic when I was a kid. It was in the beginning of the century, and I, as a kid, I grew loving the game, and I came back playing the game in 2015, and I have a lot of nostalgia and good memories when I was a kid, and that was a main reason for me to love the game so much because of the good memories from me as a kid. And I started playing Pauper when I came back from playing Magic. It was in 2015, like I said, and I had played Yu-Gi-Oh a while ago, some years before that. It was in 2011 and 2013, and and as I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I was playing some tournaments because there is somewhat of a competitive scene back then. And because of this competitiveness of Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, I started playing Magic and playing tournaments. And I didn't have much money, so I still don't have. But this is the main reason why I chose Pauper, because I want to create a lot of decks and have a lot of decks. And this is and I started playing Pauper and never stopped. I like especially the especially because I can build a lot of decks, and this is what makes me love this format so much. And what else about Magic? Yeah, so I started doing some YouTube content, and it was in some 7 years ago. Actually, it was almost exactly 7 years ago because I was celebrating the anniversary of the YouTube channel, and I started growing as a content creator, getting more professionalized, and it was great. Now I am doing YouTube lives, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and I've been loving doing this content and growing a community. It's very nice to be part of a community and making it grow.
Truly, Pauper is the format of the people, clearly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is the best part of the format.
Yeah,
It's the people that matters in the first place.
yeah, definitely. It's nice to see that obviously you've, I'd say it's kind of took that way. Like, obviously, your community's really grown in your YouTube channel and obviously all the other social media platforms that you're using. Like, you can tell obviously that you get a lot of engagement, and it seems like you've grew this great community around you. So
Yeah,
it's nice to see.
I'm very thankful for making it possible with a lot of other a lot of other content creators in Brazil and
Mm,
other places, and I really like this aspect from Pauper that the whole world community of the format is very unite,
mm,
and this is something it's actually very rare
mm,
because most of the games are a bit bigger. So the communities from each country are a bit separate from each other,
mm-hmm.
and this is not the same from Pauper. And this is actually great. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that I can talk with you guys from England and have some friends in Japan, some friends in Italy, in the US,
Hmm.
and in Argentina, Chile, a lot of places in the world. It's actually something that's really nice, and we don't see that happening very often, and I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that's probably something that's not really brought up enough is how like interlinked the pauper community is like across the world. As you say, it's sort of something that doesn't get brought into the limelight as much as it probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't fully get what you said, but well, in the beginning, I'm sorry.
It's good. It's good that the community is so interlinked that way. Like you
Yeah,
can link with people from other countries, whereas
yeah,
other formats even don't have that.
yeah. It is so nice. It is so nice because it makes the people the most important aspect of the format of the community, and
Yeah.
this is what has to be.
Definitely. Um, I guess leaning into some. Obviously, we've got some talking points. I guess we'll say to go through and just see how things go. The one thing that I do want to mention first of all, I could not get this in, is you are known, especially to us on this podcast, for playing challenges and performing well with, let's say, off meta decks. You know, you've been with mono black sacrifice, slivers, uh, all sorts like that. So what's your process to choose these decks to play? Is it content driven? Do you think, do you know what, this is actually a gap in the field, or is it just you think this is fun? Hell, let's play it.
Yeah, all right. So I have a something about me that I sometimes I want to be a competitive player, but other times I just don't want to be a competitive player. I just want to play whatever and see if I can go do well. And something something about this is relatable to content. I want to create some content, but me as a person, I sometimes want to be the highest uh, competitiveness of a player,
Mhm,
but sometimes I just want to maybe do well, and this is kind of challenge to maybe do well with a deck like Slivers, and sometimes I want to try some other decks like Zubera,
mhm,
Sacrifice, like you said, and and some aspect to this that is important is because when I need to make money, I need to play the best deck.
mhm,
I used to play fairy a lot of Dimir fairies last
Mm.
year, and I play the best deck from my perspective at the moment. But as the content is doing well, I have less of a pressure to play the best deck, so I play whatever. Like I play Mono Black on last weekend. I
mhm.
actually got 33rd. I don't know how to say it. No, I almost got on the top 32, and but yeah, I it's something about content and a lot of about myself that I have some phases.
Yeah, to me, one thing that definitely shines through when you play these decks is you know your craft. You know Pauper, and it definitely shows by you've just plucked a deck from like 8 years ago and top 32 with it.
Yeah, even when I play something rogue, I want to make it the best from the deck,
Hmm.
and even when I play like mono black, like I played, it wasn't the best build
Mm.
after I played, but I was trying to to put a good build for the tournament, but
Yeah,
it wasn't what happened.
close. Nearly
Yeah,
got to top
but
32. Close.
it was, it was. I actually misplayed on the game tree of the last match of round
Oh.
6, and it was rough because I should have played Shitter and Rats and played around Metallic Rebuke
Hmm.
because the the affinity player had a Trebe Inspector. So I should have played Shitter and Rats and maybe hold up remove because I had it. So I don't know why I choose to play the troll, the 6 mana troll,
Mhm.
and I got rebuked and ninja with the Traven, and I lost the game because of that. So it was I was kind of sad because of that, but it happens.
Suppose leading on from that question, is there obviously we all know sort of the best decks at the moment, like your Kuldotha, your Colgates. Is there a deck that you think's really underrated currently?
Okay, so one thing, one thing I forgot to say about myself, it is sometimes when the deck is really good, I don't like to play the deck.
Yeah.
So like Mono Red is the best deck, for example. If it is, I no, I don't want to play the best deck. I'll be play the third best, the third best, and try to maybe win the from the best deck against the best deck.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think. I was looking at the meta before because I read the questions here, and I was thinking about heroic because it has received all the glitters recently, and also it has received a creature that can make a roll that gives ward one to a creature, and also the 1 mana 1/1 that whenever you an enchantment enters the battlefield, you
Mhm.
scry one, and you
Yeah.
can play three to give it +1/+1 for each enchantment on the battlefield. So I think heroic is a good
Mm.
deck. I also think auras, the green white auras, is a
Yeah.
good deck. They are a bit underrated at the
Mm.
moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
solid choice, to be honest. Heroic especially has got so many new tools just recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were playing it the other day, Teasdale,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Keep Guard and the
Besotted.
Besotted
Besotted.
Knight.
Yeah. Besotted Night was really. It was quite
Mm-hmm.
surprising. The
Mm-hmm.
the one thing I didn't realize is you can only put one roll on either. That's one thing that I
Yeah.
didn't realize, which is it's
Mm.
probably its downfall. But
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's the reason you don't want to play four,
mm,
maybe three or two,
yeah, yeah.
because of this.
But the Slumbering Keep guard that gives you the scry was really good.
Yeah.
Definitely impressed me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Very good because the deck floods a lot, so
yeah.
it helps.
So yeah, moving on from obviously underrated decks and things in Pauper. We're obviously a big fan of your content. Obviously, you've played some wild decks on your channel. You know, like the Bant Incubator deck, which I've seen. What what was that? But you know, don't get me wrong, great content. And a question from my perspective is: do you struggle to find topics and decks to make content on?
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for saying that. I actually find your content recently, and I enjoyed it much.
I'm blushing.
And about your question, actually, don't. It's really easy to find topics, and I think there's infinite topics to talk about Pauper and Magic.
Mm,
There are many decks, and if you run out of decks, I find it difficult to happen. You can talk about things like the meta, things you want to be downshifted.
mm,
There's a lot of content to be created. You can even say some things like tips to help people getting better at Magic. There's infinite content on to be made,
mm-hmm,
and even for people that don't create content and want to be content creators, there is a lot of room, especially in Pauper, a lot of room for creation and for the community. People really want to see new creators and to see their videos. So there's a lot of room for for content creation and for content creators at the moment, and it will. I think it will always be like this.
Can you repeat all that or write it in a message just so I can write this down? You know, because I definitely struggle. But no,
Also,
so
I can give you some yeah, yeah. It's a process that you if you as you see your as your content maybe as I don't know how to say that, but maybe as a profession, everything you do, if you go to a tournament locally, you have people to interview, you have people to take photos, you have a lot of things to do. So there's a lot of things to do. Is you just want to break the that barrier, and as you do that, you see that topics won't be a problem for sure.
Yeah, I do think that is one thing that I do struggle in. I kind of feel like I've found my lane, and I just kind of sit in it. Like as of late, I release 2 videos a week almost, and they are both the same as last week. Just the deck is different, if you know what I mean. And I do find that I do think I need to, as you say, break that barrier down. So, but yeah, definitely
Yeah,
some good advice.
yeah. One trouble I have, one issue, or one trouble I usually have when I'm creating content is these topics more dense, more deep
Mm,
about magic and about pauper, like with scripts and things like that.
mm,
It's a bit tougher for me to do. I usually like to make some simple gameplay, and I make this the bread and butter from my content because
mm,
it's easier to make.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Mm,
struggle a little bit, not with the ideas, but how to implement
yeah.
them in a good timing during the week. A lot of times during the week,
Mm,
Mm.
a bit tough because the ideas I have a lot, but some of them are kind of harder to put in practice. But
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they all will be great,
Mm,
and the community will love. But sometimes it's hard to do.
understandable. So I guess moving on to, obviously you mentioned, you go to tournaments and things like that, and you can find content. So you are a TO, a tournament organizer for the part of the Brazilian community. So what is the scene like there in Brazil? From obviously we've just seen social media images and videos and stuff from yourself and Ricardo. It looks pretty incredible. A lot better than, obviously we're growing in the UK, so it looks like it could potentially rival Italy almost. It looks immense.
Yeah, so a lot of people play in Brazil. I'm a tournament organizer, especially in online tournaments. I don't run tabletop tournaments, but I have a weekly that is free to play, and it's on Thursday nights.
Mm,
And there is a top 8 prize from card holder, and usually we have 20 to 13 to
mm,
30 people playing it. And but yeah, the popper scene, we have a lot of players, but we don't have something like in Italy that they all gather in
mm,
one place to play.
Yeah.
It's easier for them to gather in
Yeah.
one place to play. And here you have a lot of, like, say, some islands, like a lot of stores that there are 20 people playing regularly, but it's kind of hard to connect them a lot. So
mm,
we have a lot of stores with 20, some places even with 40 players, but we don't have a big tournament like Poppergeddon, for
mm,
example. We have the Brazilian Nationals,
mm,
and I believe the Brazilian Nationals started before the Poppergeddon. I'm not sure about that. It was 2015. It was a long time ago,
mm,
but I believe the Poppergeddon is getting bigger because they are. I don't know how the organization is working, but they do a lot of partnerships with
mm,
stores and with other products, and we have the same structure as we have from 8 years ago. So the tournament is not growing
mm,
as it should be. It's
yeah.
just kind of stale in the not only the number of players, but in structure in general. And it's kind of tough to ask that because the people that are running the tournaments, they do that because as a how can I say, they don't profit on that.
Yeah.
So it's kind
Mm,
of hard to ask them for do I the best tournament on the world because it's not their job. So So yeah, but I believe the some things have to change because we need to gather people in one place with a lot of content creators, with stores wanting to help. Maybe I don't know, but maybe there is kind of a rivalry among stores in many places, like many cities, and like São Paulo. I don't live in São Paulo, but the São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil, and the most dense city in Brazil. So maybe the stores don't want to be doing things together.
Yeah.
Maybe it could make things harder to do. But yeah, I'm a tournament organizer, especially online. I create tournaments on card helms, and as Thiago Foguete, it's a Brazilian content creator, Thiago Rocket. I like to say that because this is the translation from Rocket is Foguete, and he also runs a lot of tournaments during the week, but they are all online, like the one
Mm.
I host.
Yeah.
I guess then moving back to more looking at the cards that are in Pauper at the moment. Some things we've been seeing lately with Daybreak and the uncards, like the Unfinity cards, getting added to Magic Online. Obviously, they're really struggling, especially with the Goblin. I think they've added it, taken it off, added it, taken it off, and they've finally added it again. With a close to paper version, but not really the same card.
Yeah.
I guess what are your thoughts on the uncards in general being legal in Pauper? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad?
Okay, so yeah, before before I answer what I think about Infinity cards in general, but unsets in general in Pauper. But yeah, I don't know much about programming, but some cards are kind of harder to
Yeah,
like like initiative. They took 3 months to put the initiative mechanic on Magic Online, and this is almost a year ago that we got Infinity, and it's even harder. I don't even know if they want to put all the sticker cards, but I have a strong opinion about Infinity and stickers. I don't make it very public. I don't usually say what I think, but now I'm saying I don't like them. I think they are way too complex. I I don't the game a game needs to be complex, but uh, stickers are a mechanic that makes the layers of complexity way higher than a game should be. And I don't think they should be on Pauper and on Magic Online. They
yeah,
are legal on Pauper, but I have never faced them. But yeah,
yeah.
I
I
don't
think
I don't like them very
Yeah.
much.
yeah, I think we both pretty much
Yeah.
agree with that opinion. Some of them seem fine. Like Embiggen is obviously
Yeah,
seems fine. It doesn't
yeah,
seem as horrendous as the other ones, but yeah, like the sticker ones in particular.
yeah,
Um, I played the sticker goblin sort of mono red list at an FNM, and everyone I played against was just looked at me dead confused when I shuffled up a separate deck and offered them a cut on my 10 card sticker deck.
yeah. It's the equivalent of playing Zuberis
Yeah,
because Zuber is the rules of Zuber is really tough to understand. A lot of complex, but Zuber is fine because it's not from an unset. It could
yeah,
be, but it's
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I suppose sort of a follow on from that on a different slant um, of cards being added to the format that weren't there initially. Downshifts, so cards that were uncommon or were rare that get downshifted to common. How do you feel about those in general?
So in general, I think they are fine, but some examples like Swift Spear. I don't know what is ATG.
All the glitters.
All that glitters, all right. Yeah, I think Crypt Serpent is not a very good card, but and this is actually great. And talking about the format wise, it's great. The card not being great.
Mm.
I but some yeah some I really like downshifts. It's gives a lot of cool cards for the format. Some cards get a bit stronger than they should be. Maybe they overall they make the format a bit less good,
Mm.
but in general I like downshifts. I like seeing cards from other rarities going into the format. My main complaint is some cards are not created for Pauper. We don't know what cards are. We have a lot of commons, a lot of sets like Lord of the Rings, Commander Masters, and the standard sets, and we don't know which cards were thought about Pauper when they were created.
Mm.
Mostly are just for draft, so we don't know if we don't know if Sweet Spirit was thought about the how it will impact the format.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a dark space. We don't know exactly what was going on the process, and it's kind of rough for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they've got a point where the floor on them can be pretty low, but the spikes in power level are really high on certain cards. So generally they seem fine, but there's some cards that just go far
Yeah,
above everything
and
else.
this is actually a problem because if you have a lot of cool and balanced cards and you have a few really good cards, and this few really good cards will warp the format in some ways. They because the all the cool cards that was made, they won't be in the same level
Yeah.
in many cases. So if you created a very good a cool chill drop and if you want to compete with monastery you just can't because
Mm.
the bar is way higher for this
Mm.
card.
And that, to be fair, is a good segue, to be fair, because as of recently, the power level of normal Magic set commons seems to have increased in not only power level, but also, I would say, complexity. Um, so you've obviously got like Experimental Synthesizer, Lorien Reveal, Deadly Dispute, Tolarian Terror, just to name a few. Like, what is your thoughts on the... is it a good thing that the power levels increased over recent times, do you think, or...
So I don't believe the cards got complex. Like I don't the examples you said that is written here like experimental synthesizer, Tolarian Terror, and Lorien. I don't think they are very complex. They are kind of easy mechanics in general. And but yeah, this is the problem. A lot of cards will be fine, balanced, but some of them can be a bit higher than the normal. And yeah, it's how it happens. But repeating what I just said, we don't know
Yeah.
which cards were thinking about
Well,
how balanced they will be for the format. So it's kind of rough to understand what was the process because the format isn't very cared in a way that we know how cared it is. So I like commons like uh, I usually review commons from the new sets, and I don't like I like the fun ones, but usually they don't see play. The ones that see play is the unfun that in my opinion like for example Lauren reviewed because it's just a draw tree. It's plain and simple, but at the same it's really strong. And for me, it's kind of flavorless in some ways. So whenever I see like a card like I prefer a card like Murmuring Mystic is in playing because it's a flavorful card. Some cards like Experimental Synthesizer kind of are some 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 flavorful. I don't know how to say that, but usually the cards that see plays are the most boring ones from a set. So this is how competitiveness work, I guess.
Yeah. Can definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I suppose sort of again, it adds on to the the commons that have been printed lately. Um, More so in the since Lord of the Rings, I guess. Really, it feels like we've had a lot of sets in quick succession that have added a lot of cards to Pauper. Sort of one after the other. We had Lord of the Rings, then a month later we had Commander Masters, then a month later we had Wilds of Eldraine. And obviously all those sets seem to have had some impact, if not a lot of impact, for like Lord of the Rings and Commander Masters. Um, what are your thoughts on the rates cards are now being added to Pauper?
Okay, so I I think this year the sets that impact the format was kind of very near from each other. It was mostly Lord of the Rings and Commander Masters because we have a lot of cards like in Commander Masters, all the glitters. In Lord of the Rings, Lambas, Cast into the Fire, and Lauren Revealed, the Troll as well. But usually, w- w- standard sets don't usually impact the format very much. It's usually 1 to 2 cards, but the it was funny because the Lord of the Rings was printed, and a week after, the Commander Masters spoilers
Yeah,
starting to happen.
Yeah.
So they are kind of very concentrated this year, and it makes the it looks like we have a lot of new cards appearing in the format, but it's more of the more of impression because the how near these two
yeah,
sets were
Yeah.
from each other.
Definitely. Um, I guess we've got one more before we move on to like I want to say the PFP section, or obviously start talking about obviously your time in the PFP and stuff like that. So before we move on, we've got to ask the question: what do you think the state of the format is as a whole? Obviously healthy, not healthy, healthy but unfun. You know, what's your personal thoughts?
Okay, so I believe the Pauper has some structural problems that might not be able to solve with bannings or unbannings because bannings or unbannings can change the card pool a bit. I'm sorry, a
It's
bit,
alright.
but but some one important aspect is creating new cards and new balanced cards, new cards that can make all colors being playable. For example, in green we have only auras and Gru land destruction. So
Mhm.
green is not a very represented color. So we need more green good cards. Green for Stompy, maybe for mid range, maybe some Golgari cards, some Selesnya mid range cards, and we
Mhm.
don't have those. We don't we have the what is what's new for the format, and sometimes the sometimes we need to have new cards, but they just don't show. They just don't get into the format.
Mhm.
So this is kind of why I think the Pauper has some structural problems that won't be they just will be solved when things bigger things change. The
Mhm.
conception of the format changes from high to from the company thinking
Yeah.
about the format in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, but at the same time, I think Pauper is weirdly weirdly in a kind of balanced situation because I don't know I don't know if balance is the best word, but we have a lot of decks that are very how can I say that they are very
Viable or
not
playable.
viable, but they are very distinct from each other.
All
yeah,
right.
So we don't have this a lot in other formats. We have a lot of a pile of good cards in other formats, and in Pauper you have like Mono Red, Auras, Heroic, Familiars, Golgari, Mono Blue, Blue Black, and the decks are very distinct, distinct from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a cool aspect to the format, and yeah, maybe the format gets some deck that is better than the others, and not only that, maybe some strategy like mid range is better than the others in sometimes, and a problem that often happens, we just have one aggro deck. It used to be like that. You have a lot of mid-range good decks and only mono red as the only good aggro deck. So it would be better if you have like 4 or 5 or 6 good aggro decks, 4 or 5 or 6 mid-range decks, some control decks as well, and some combo that can be balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't always the
Mm-hmm.
case. So this is kind of something that needs to be balanced. But the meta game, in a weird way, it's always balancing itself because players are always thinking about how to beat a given meta. For example, last week we had a lot of mono red on the challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and this week we had a lot of mono blue using a lot of Hydroblast and Blue Elemental Blast on the sideboard. But I don't believe Blue Terror is a really good deck. I think the deck is actually very beatable by a lot of other decks, and this kind of makes kind of a rock scissor papers situation that we have a kind of a deck that can be good against the best deck, but the deck itself it isn't very good. So it happens
Mm-hmm.
in the format in
Yeah, I think
recently.
as a whole, we've kind of covered the. We usually have like we've got what five? I would say five pillars of the format is what we discussed
Mm.
like last week, or previous episode. Sorry, and it seems that at the moment Pauper is in a weird way balanced as much as it pains me to say it, but it is just obviously very cyclical. And as you say, mono red one week, mono blue next week, and then you've got the week after that is blue white glitters, and then it rotates around in itself. But I think it definitely, for a lot of people, I think it definitely leads unfun when people like to play wild and wacky decks, but you've obviously got yourself shining in on challenges, with slivers and mono black occasionally, and showing that it is still sort of can be done is the best way I could put
Yeah,
it.
I think they could be done in a easier way. Uh, I wish it was a bit like modern, that we have way more decks. Actually, modern from 2 years ago, because
Yeah.
nowadays modern. So, but yeah, I like Merfolk, like a lot of rogue decks that can play a challenge and do well. And I wish Pauper was modern from 2 years ago, maybe Pioneer from 3 years ago. That yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. Like it depends how you look at it. Like if you were to say, oh, this new standard, there's 5 decks that are basically better than the rest of the format. You'd think, oh, that's really good. There's 5 very competitive decks. But because we've went from a format where you could basically play whatever you wanted and do well into a format where these 5 decks are a lot higher percentage than everything else, it looks probably a lot worse than it is.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's why I wish cards were created for especially unrepresented decks, rogue
Mm-hmm.
decks like Stompy, the decks that need cards like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sacrifice, like some I don't know, maybe some lords from zombies,
Mm-hmm.
Merfolk. I don't know. I believe the stronger cards should be created for the rogue decks,
Mm-hmm.
and i- naturally this won't happen because when they release a card like Loring revealed, it will play on the decks that are already good, like
Yeah.
Jeskai, Familiars. So they need to be a bit more aware of that and
Mm.
create cards specifically for the decks that need good cards. And this is something that I don't see happening, unfortunately. But yeah, I wish this happened.
So we need more Zuberas. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, basically. Basically. And one green Stompy, yeah.
Yes.
And elves.
Um. So I guess moving on, obviously, to talking about your time in the PL, not your time like you've left, but you know what I mean. Your PFP sort of section. If obviously you can't or don't want to answer, that's perfectly fine. But the first one, how did you get to become a PFP member?
Okay, so I don't know exactly why. So I I had a Twitter account. I participate on talkings, and I used to do a lot of whenever they banned cards from Pauper. I used to make videos talking about the bannings. I don't do that right now because of I'm a member of PFP, so I don't talk a lot of what should be banned. I
Mm-hmm.
used to do a lot of content like this
Mm-hmm.
before, and I used to tweet a lot, maybe talk about I don't know exactly, but Gavin called me for participate. I remember a bit before PFP was created, the community was asking for the format to be more cared in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a day that people got on Discord and Gavin was answering questions on Discord, and I remember that, and people had this kind of need to the format to be a bit more cared, and also I think the main reason why PFP was created was because the people that makes the balance changes from formats, they don't know Pauper very much. They know a lot about Modern, Pioneer, Standard, but they don't play Pauper. So whenever something needed to be banned, for example, Shatterstorm needed to be banned at the time, but it
Mm.
took way more time than it was like several months
Mm-hmm.
on the format, and it should be banned way before. And the reason for that was because the ones that take care of that new wizards that work for wizards don't didn't know about the format
Mm-hmm.
to have some property to say what needs to be banned and when. So that's why they created this the PFP to discuss in a way that with people that can provide some some better approach and some close approach
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
on the format.
I suppose sort of tying into being a member, we obviously see yourself do well in challenges often, obviously making content. We see Hyson playing in challenges and playing in paper events quite often as well. And we see Alex write his articles, but or at least to me, the rest of the PFP don't seem as publicly involved in playing in Pauper events or writing articles about Pauper. Um, for you, is it important that you obviously you are involved in the community, but is it important that you show that you're involved in the community as a PFP member?
Okay, so yeah, actually, I am on the public because of mainly because of the content creation,
Hmm.
but as a member of the PFP, I some things change, some stuff change. Like I receive feedback from the ones that want to feedback about something that they think they should be banned. I
Hmm.
receive a lot of feedback. I actually don't try to not I don't know, maybe curse. I don't know. Not like that. Maybe curse publicly, say and be kind of as I as I used to be very angry about stuff. I don't
Yeah.
try to be very angry publicly. I try to, and this has actually helped me because I started to care about some more important stuff about life in general. And but yeah, that's basically it. I don't think I don't. Hey, yeah, these things have changed, but my apprentice would happen if I was on PFP or
Mm.
if I wasn't.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, obviously, as you've mentioned, that people were asking for this, and we personally we do love the PFP and the fact that it shows that Wizards care obviously about Pauper, and then obviously having experts like yourself, to kind of run what gets banned, what gets unbanned. Sort of decides what the format looks like. Um, just a general, what do you think? How do you think everything's going? Like, do you think you guys at the PFP wise are happy with how you guys are doing involved, and what would you do differently, or how, like, do you know what I mean? Are you happy with how the community views yourselves? Like, are you overall happy with it?
So yeah, I am happy. I believe we have some a limited involvement because of as I was saying, the aspect of bringing new cards is something that it's not up to the PFP, it's
Yeah.
up to the Wizards. And I believe this is a very important, for me at least, it's a very important aspect from a format, for a healthy format. So because of that, we have somewhat of a limited role in the meta because of that. And but at the same time, I'm very happy because the involvement of the PFP isn't only about the meta game, to have a balanced and healthy meta game, but also about some other demands of the community, like the that league that they were trying to implement with some worse prizes.
Yeah.
And this was something that community talked about, yeah, about that pricing not being so good. And we the as PFP members are part of the community, so we bring a lot of these talks, these aspects. We sometimes we don't even need to hear the community because we the demands that we have because we are part of the community are the same way. So we don't sometimes when something like this happen, we don't even the first talk before anyone complains, it's our complaining about something that needs to be changed. And something like that, and about the initiative not being on TGO, and all these little things that it's important for Pauper, it's important for community, not only the balance of the format.
Yeah.
And yeah, because of that, I'm very happy because the how we care about the format, but at the same time, we have a limited things that naturally we can do
Mm.
because the one of the most important things is bringing new cards, and
Yeah.
we don't are involved in this.
It's quite interesting to see, because to be honest, that was one of the first times you'd seen, I would say, disagreement publicly on things like the chests and the prize pool structure change, because a lot of players were like, "This is great. It brings more accessibility to things," and then so there was obviously, it was very split response, but overall it seemed that it was nice to see that you guys kind of helped that be reverted, I guess. So yeah, it was nice.
I don't remember it was kind of I remember almost everyone
Yeah,
complaining about
there was
the
it just, I would say definitely the majority.
yeah,
But yeah, it was definitely
yeah,
nice. There was still some people saying, like, it's
yeah,
more
yeah,
accessible. You know,
Yeah.
that people could, it's a lot cheaper to play and all this sort of thing. So, but yeah, it was nice to
Yeah.
see that you obviously helped with that as well and had input.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because Pauper has a lot of aspects. There's the competitive aspect, the
Mm.
casual aspect that is very important, and it's something that is also cared about the PFP.
Mm-hmm.
And not only the competitiveness of the format, but also the how casual and fun it can be for people to play. But also the people that play challenge, they usually don't want to do that for money.
Yeah.
So this is not only competitive but also professional. So
Mm-hmm.
it's another aspect to the format that cannot be ignored. So it was really important on this particular decision about the chests.
Mm-hmm.
I think going in, I guess my last question. How do you feel the communication from the PFP as an entity, like as one, is to the Pauper community? Do you think there's enough communication there? Do you think there's too much? Would you change anything?
Okay, so it's kind of a, I don't know. I think it should be, yeah, maybe more communication in some ways, but it's kind of, I don't know how it could be made.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah, I, we had some videos talking about the health of the
Mm-hmm.
format, but I don't know how to answer. I don't know
Yeah.
if we need more communication or less communication, or I
Yeah,
believe it's somewhat fine
I think
for the time being.
for me, if a few weeks ago, uh, you guys had come forward as the PFP and sort of said, what you just previously said about, oh, we know people aren't 100% happy with this format, but we don't think bans are the answer to making it better. We think new cards need to be added to change it. I think just that statement would have went a long way
Mm-hmm.
into sort of simmering everyone down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the grinders and that are playing every day. I think they would have got a lot from you guys saying, "Look, we're aware that people think this is an issue, but we think that if we ban Swift Spear, it won't actually make the format any better."
Yeah, and about cards being banned, the one thing that I have learned that about banning cards, it's the what will happen isn't very easy to
Yeah.
predict. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually very, a lot of things can happen. It's like a somewhat of a butterfly effect in some way, and yeah, yeah. Sometimes banning cards can be kind of difficult because of how can it impact. It's very unpredictable of what's going to happen. So I believe the best way it would be to have new cards,
Yeah.
especially for
Zverev.
better especially for bad archetypes, for
Yeah.
sacrifice, for yeah.
Yeah, I think Stompy is the perfect example of that as a
Mm,
deck that is a core, like a core pauper deck. It's been there for years and years and
yeah.
years,
Mm.
and it's just like not had any tools for so long. It's
Mm.
like died off.
Yeah, exactly. So the other decks got new cards,
Yeah.
they got better, and the deck got just a deck that doesn't receive new card just get obsolete. Like Mono Red had a lot of trouble receiving new cards. It has received Reckless Impulse, Synthesizer, and Monastery Civil Spear, but before that it was like 3 to 4 years without
Mm.
any new
Mm.
cards, and
Mm.
people need to play Needle Drop and Curse of the
Yeah,
Cursed
yeah,
Heart, and
Now look how
kind of
times have changed.
yeah,
yeah,
But
yeah.
we kind
So
of covered this as well on a previous episode where we did talk about like bannons and unbannons, and we've spoke about it even further down there. Like if I was like in your place as a PFP member, you're in a rock and a hard place to me in that terms of bannons and unbannons, because as you say, it's a butterfly effect, and you can't just go, if everyone's upset about Swift Spear, for example, or Tolarian Terror, like banning one of these cards isn't just going to all of a sudden magically fix the format, because you don't know what's lying underneath that could cause the issues. And it is, as you say, it is very much a rock and a hard place for you. It's a lose-lose situation in my eyes for you, because obviously you have people giving you feedback or with no changes or with changes, so it is a hard place for you guys to be. To be fair.
Yeah, yeah, it is for sure. But yeah, for sure. And but in some cases, like the initiative, when
Mm.
all the initiative cards were in the format for a month, it was like 3 weeks. It was very clear that the cards need to be banned in some way. So this is what happened. So yeah, uh, when when things aren't very clear or of what needs to be, it's much harder. Yeah.
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 I guess moving on to the last question, the most important question of all. So your PFP members have obviously been formed, and there is obviously a select few of yous. Anyone planning on leaving or planning on adding any members? Because I'm just curious. If so, my application's ready to be sent to you or Gavin. Just throwing that out there.
I don't know. I think you need to ask Gabby about this because I'm just there.
Can you be my reference on my CV, on my job
Oh, for
application?
sure, for
Yeah,
sure. This day from the podcast
yeah,
knows a lot about the format.
yeah.
Yeah,
You've got my back. I like it.
yeah, I do.
So is there anything else you would like to express or let the viewers know or anything? Because that kind of sums up our talking points. Anything you want to add that we may have missed?
Okay, so a lot of things I have said on the beginning of the format, but I want to repeat. I like the community. We have a lot. The all we gather for the format, and not only about the format, but we are gathered as people. It's really important, and I want to thank everyone that listened to the podcast here, and I want to thank a lot of for the invite not the for the invite here
Mm-hmm.
for to be here. And I'm sorry about my English. I really need to practice. I really need to practice my English to make it better because I I struggle a lot because I need to think and too much think and speak. It's kind of too much for me. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here and I'm very happy about the community. I hope the podcast do great. I think you guys are great, and I hope the community in UK grows up a lot because I'm pretty sure people from England want to play and have fun with a game, and this game could be Pauper, it could be Magic, and I believe one good aspect is because it's a format they can afford and they can lend decks to each other if they
Mm-hmm.
don't have a deck, and it's this is very important. And yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
talking like Michael Scott in
So
there's a video of him.
I guess one thing I'd like to add is, first of all, your English is great. You're putting us
Yeah.
to shame. So we could definitely not do this the other way around. Is 100% what we would get at. And yeah, thank you. Obviously, the community, everyone who listens, obviously the community in general is obviously great. The UK scene is growing, and we as the UK community would like to thank you, because we see your shares and retweets of every time we do a big event. I have been told that, bar me, you are the second most retweeter of the UK events. So
Nice.
thank you. Um, and would you like to shout out your channels and wherever you want to, events, anything like that?
Okay, so I have a YouTube channel. I can say in Portuguese it's Alexandre Weber MTG, and I am on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Yeah, I said Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything. But mostly in YouTube, I do a lot of gameplay. So check me out on YouTube.
And for if anyone is listening, obviously, who does not speak Portuguese, I personally listen to and watch his content. There is an auto translate button for English, and apart from the odd magic related word, it is perfectly fine. And I watch you endlessly, so it is fine. Like,
That's
don't let
I
that be a
didn't know.
hesitation.
I didn't know the translator could
Mm.
be to English
Yeah.
and do well. Very nice to know.
So thank you again for being on. Obviously, thank you for accepting the invitation. It's been a pleasure to have you and answering all of our lovely questions. Like, we've bombarded you with questions, so it's been great that you've obviously answered them. Anything you want to say, Reese?
No, that's it from me. Just thank you, Weber, for joining us.
You are a legend, as always. So, guys, thank you guys for watching and listening to our bonus episode this week. If you have enjoyed this content, please share it with your friends, your family, the local Portable community, anything at all. Word of mouth has actually grew this and give us a massive influx of viewers, which is obviously fantastic. So please do not forget to share it with every single person, including the dentist. That is all from us at Cast and Commons. Until next time, don't forget to stay hydrated.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm actually.